win. What a day. What a day. Welcome to the basement. Great day of NFL football right off the bat. The Raiders just won the game. Josh Jacobs, 300 yards of offense. Josh Jacobs. What a weird year it's been for him, for them, for everybody. They're not exactly threatening to go to the title game, but that was an awesome win against the Seattle team that matters in Seattle. Do you remember in the preseason kickoff, it was the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, which is just a weird game. They played backups. The Raiders were just running Josh Jacobs. It was so strange. Like, what is he doing out there? He's supposed to be the seventh-string running back. They were just running him and running him. And it's like, all right, well, either they're going to cut him or they're going to trade him. And here he is now in almost December, running for 300 yards of offense. It's awesome. I'm happy for Josh Jacobs. Seems like a good guy. Been through a lot. Raiders win. Chargers win. I like laughing at the Chargers' shortcomings in the fourth quarter as much as the next guy, but I'm sick of it. And I like teams to turn over a new leaf. And I hate that teams are blamed for teams' mistakes of the past and the losses they weren't even there for, losses when they were in high school or junior high. And that's how the Chargers are mostly. People laugh at Justin Herbert for things Phillip Rivers did. So I like that the Chargers won. I can't believe that was going to happen. I thought, oh my God, the Chargers blew it again. No, they won. I've been watching that, and then they beat the Cardinals. I've been watching that in-season Hard Knocks show. It's a great show. I wasn't into it. I thought Hard Knocks is a training camp thing. It works. Don't move it. But it's awesome. Watch this next week. If the Cardinals lose this game, I mean, it's hard because they're just going into the ground steadily every single week, but it's still fun to watch. All right, all kinds of things to get to. We recap everything that went down today. It was a really good week. The matchups didn't look like they were great. When Bengals-Titans feels like the marquee matchup, not the best week on paper, but the games are really good. So we always start with the podium before we get to our Sunday night hardware. Third place, second place, first place. Basically who won the day, but who came in second and third as well. Want to start at third place in the podium? Should we do that? Let's get to it. Third place on the podium. Yeah! Yeah! Your Washington Commanders. All they do is win. The Commanders win every week. Look at my hair's coming up like Ernie McCracken because I'm so excited about the Commanders. The Commanders won again, sixth win in the last 7. It was really fun to watch just because it's never spectacular. It's never that exciting particularly, but they always win. And it's like, I remember when they used to start Carson Wentz. Oh, and this is going to be the guy, and he's on his third team in 3 years. And yet here we are. They win again, 19-13. Perfect score. Perfect Commanders score. Against the Falcons, 19-13. Tedious, unexciting, boring win. The Commanders are going to the playoffs. I don't know if the Giants are going to go in that division. I have concerns about the New York Giants. The Cowboys are going. The Eagles are going. The Commanders are going. I like this team. Boring as hell. They are hummus. They are Cheerios. Not Honey Nut Cheerios. Cheerios. They're some CSI show at night. Those shows rate. People watch them, and the Commanders win. I love it. They're 7-5. This team is terrible. Terrible. Ron Rivera not working. Blow the whole thing up. All the nonsense off the field all the time with the Commanders. The Commanders. Weird name. 7-5. Third place. Second place. How about this? Remember when the Bengals were 0-2? Started the season 0-2, and it's like, well, that was a cool run last year. Remember, we're going to always look back on this thing when they went to the Super Bowl that one year and had one play away from winning it. And then Joe Burrow just kind of kept getting hurt, and the team fell apart, and Zach Taylor wasn't who we thought he was, and Jamar Chase ended up leaving Cincinnati. No, they're back. They started 0-2. They're 7-4. They beat the Titans, kind of outlasted them. The Titans was not great today. Derrick Henry was stuffed running the ball. He had this wild play, one of the craziest plays of the day. He caught a ball on a screen pass, flew downfield like 60 yards, fumbled at the goal line, this awesome punch knockout, and then Traylon Burks, his teammate, recovered it for a touchdown. But that was the best thing that happened for the Titans all day. The Bengals won again. Bengals-Chiefs next Sunday is the game of the week. Bengals-Chiefs next Sunday. Chiefs won again today as well. But Bengals are 7-4 after 0-2. Still no Chase. Out. Doesn't matter. Still no Joe Mixon. Samaje Perine. Like that Samaje Perine. I like saying his name. I'm not sure why he was on the field at the end of the Super Bowl. They probably would have won if they had Mixon in. But they didn't have that option today. Mixon hurt. Chase hurt. Jamar Chase, like, we've kind of forgotten about him this year because he's been off the field a little bit, and the Bengals aren't as glamorous maybe as they were last year, and we're all oohing and on about Justin Jefferson, as we should. But Jamar Chase, we're moving aside from him where maybe we shouldn't. Remember how good he is. If he comes back, this team could still be in the title game. They could still get there. AFC, they're still going to matter in the AFC. They're 7-4. If you look at Titans-Bengals as the game of the day, they won that game against a good team. Because my take about the Bengals, my kind of haters take about this year's Bengals team is they were 6-4 before today. But they didn't have any real quality wins. Hadn't really beaten anybody. They did have a win over Miami, but it was the game that Tua got knocked out. It was that horrible game when he hit his head on the ground. So they won that game, but the Dolphins were all messed up that game and they lost their quarterback. But other than that, the Bengals, for their 6 wins, hadn't had anything impressive. Nobody that if you were seeding them in the NCAA tournament, you would say, well, there's a quality win. That helps their RPI. None of that. This was a quality win. Against the Titans, nobody likes them. They're not sexy, they're not fun, but they're good. Especially at the Titans. Quality win for the Bengals. That's why they get the second place spot on the Sunday night Kyle Brandt's Basement podium. But first place, oh yeah, Mikey Blanco. Are you part of the Mike White hive? I know Robert Saleh is because he started his ass right there in the middle of the season and benched Zach Wilson. And then Mike White came out and looked like Joe Montana in the 80s. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Gorgeous game. Mike White can't miss, comes out right down the field, touchdown, bing, bang, boom, looked totally aggressive, yet totally calm, composed. Now, I know we've been down this road before with Mike White, and there was Mike White Mania not too long ago, and the Mike White hive came out on Twitter, and then it kind of just fell apart. And it may here again, but man, for one day, it was great for the Jets. It looked so good. Because I kept bringing up the question, after Wilson was benched and did not dress today, after Wilson was benched, there becomes this championing, tough word to say, championing of Joe Flacco and Mike White, where everyone's like, wow, Wilson's terrible. We got to put Flacco or White in. And all of a sudden, we just thought these guys were incredible. Well, they're not incredible at all. They're not even close. Better than Wilson, probably. But there was this potential that what if you put Mike White in and he's bad? What if they go to halftime against the Bears down 13-3 and White has 2 picks? Do you put Flacco in? Do you just leave him in? Because you couldn't put Wilson in, he didn't have pads on. There was this idea in my head that I'm like, I like that they're benching Wilson, they should, but there's no guarantees it's going to work. The guy who's coming in suck. He didn't suck, he was great. I mean, really good. Like a flawless performance. And I think, I've watched a lot of Jets this year. I live right here. I'm in Jets country, Jets and Giants. And I think some of the commentary online today was, yeah, big deal, it's the Bears. Bears defense is terrible. And it is. And it is the Bears. But there was a totally different vibe, totally different body language. And they're like, oh, the play calling is different. Yeah, the play calling was different because they were aggressive and they looked like White could handle it. They've been protecting Wilson. The play calling's been so pedestrian and so tame. And at the end of that last loss to the Patriots, it was so pathetic because they're like, we can't let Zach throw. He'll throw an interception. With Mike White, they just let it loose. They let it rip. So, yeah, it was the Bears, but I don't care who it was. I don't care if it's a high school team. He was loose and aggressive, and the body language and the huddle even, so much looser, so much better. And they won the tweet of the day. The RIP, my dog Tony Stark tweeted the day. I'll get to that later. Mike White's the greatest story to root for, too. It's kind of like a Zach Wilson nightmare because of all the optics that Zach Wilson has working against him. You know, what he looks like, the blue eyes, the dimples, the pretty boy syndrome, everybody who's had takes about how he was raised in the BYU, and I don't share those takes, but they're out there. And then this Mike White, working class, no one expected anything of him, not a first-round pick, not stupid, doesn't look like an American Girl doll or American Boy doll. I went to the American Girl doll store in Manhattan this weekend with my daughter. Oh my God, what a house of nightmares. I mean, what a charming place. Anyway, Zach Wilson, the Mike White thing next week, we'll find out. Now, they go at the Vikings next week. And the Vikings are good, but they're also a grab bag. We'll find out. The Jets defense is going to tear up Kirk for sure. They'll get after him. So we'll see if the Mike White experience lasts again. But for this night, he is number 1 on the podium, my friends. Does Zach Wilson ever start a game for the Jets again? Is that it? I don't know. But the proclamations were out there. I think it was Chris Carter who tweeted, like, the Jets have found their quarterback. Sure looked like it. He looked really good. Let's see how he looks next week against Minnesota. But that's not what this segment's about. It's about him being number 1 on the podium. We have to get to who lost the day, though, because this one is really elaborate. All right. The people, this is plural, the people who lost the day today in the expanded universe of the NFL are people who were trying to fly from Miami to Los Angeles earlier today. I'm talking about the people on Odell Beckham Jr.'s flight. Did you see this thing? So, I'm sure you heard about it. Here's the deal. Odell was removed from a flight. taken off the plane at Miami International Airport today after police said that the free agent wide receiver who doesn't have a team was, quote, in and out of consciousness and refused to leave the airplane when asked. Now, that's a big deal. Then you're messing with federal regulations and police are involved, and it's just, here's where I come out, though. We'll get into the Odell part of it. I think about these people on that flight. It is Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend. It is a top 5 busiest travel day of the year. Many of those people in Florida were probably traveling in for Thanksgiving. They've had a long weekend. They're disgustingly fat and bloated. They're hungover. They're exhausted of family. They're sick of visiting, sitting around the couch talking about nothing. They got to get back to work. They have emails to catch up on. They're already dreading Monday morning so badly. They have the Sunday blues, the Sunday scaries. It's a long flight from Miami to LA. This is not some little puddle jumper from, Boston to Philadelphia. This is Miami to LA. You finally get in. You're bored. Sunday, you're watching the games at the Tex-Mex Cantina in the airport. You get on, you're boarding group 25. You're in row 57,000B, the middle seat. And you push back from the gate, and then you hear, and we'll find out how the details went, that you're going back to the gate. Damn it! Why are we going back to the gate? Is it some mechanical issue or something? Oh no. You hear that there's some sort of issue with a passenger. So now you're out for blood. Who is this idiot that has an issue? Is someone having a heart attack? If so, oh my God, what terrible luck. But is someone having some sort of air rage situation? What's going on 3 miles up in front of me, up in first class? Then, imagine how pissed you are already. You gotta go back to the gate. Then you have to hear the worst word in all of air travel, and there's a lot of them. Deplane. Oh! The D word comes out. You got a deplane. You're not getting home to LA anytime soon. Who the hell knows what time you're getting back? You got to call your family or your friends or your boss or whoever's picking you up at the airport, whatever. Deplane. Let's get into this. So, everybody's talking. According to a statement from the Miami-Dade Police Department, officers were called to the airport for a medical emergency after the flight crew expressed concern that Odell was seriously ill. Okay? Listen to this, police statement, and then we're going to get to Odell's spokesman's statement. All right, the police say the flight crew was concerned for the passenger as they tried to wake him to fasten his seatbelt. He appeared to be coming in and out of consciousness prior to their departure. So let's stop right there. The police, you know how this works. If you get right in your chair and you fall asleep, I've done it, I'm a good plane sleeper, I don't know about you, and you clearly don't have your seatbelt on, the flight attendant, I've had this happen to me, will, sir, up to and including physically touching you to wake you to put on your seatbelt. They will not put it on for you, and according to their rules, which are federal, they can't take off if you don't have your seatbelt on. I think it becomes a thing. So they're saying, the police are saying, in and out of consciousness, flight attendants tried to wake him up to say, sir, you must fasten your seatbelt. The statement goes on. Fearing that Odell was seriously ill and that his condition would worsen throughout the 5-hour flight, the flight attendants called for police and fire rescue. Upon the officer's arrival, the flight crew asked Mr. Beckham several times to exit the aircraft, and he refused. Let's stop again. They say, all right, this guy's all messed up. He seems seriously ill. He's coming in and out of, he's awake, he's passing out, he's awake. This is according to their statement. So they're like, we can't take off with a guy in this condition because what if we get 2 hours in and his condition deteriorates and he's going to die on the flight? We can't do that. Get the police here, get the fire, we got to deal with this, we got to get him off. The cops show up. The flight attendants say to Mr. Odell several times, you have to get off the airplane. You have to get off, you have to get off. He won't do it. Now, in my experience, when I've watched a lot of air rage videos, if you won't get off the flight, they will straight up drag you off. Sir, get off the flight, and then they drag you off, or I don't know, tase you or whatever. And then they drag you off, and everybody cheers, and they can take off. All right, but then the police said the airplane was evacuated, the whole plane. They emptied out everybody. and that Odell ultimately got off the plane when he was asked by police officers, not the flight attendants, police officers. And then so then he goes off, he doesn't get arrested, he leaves and apparently makes other transportation options, like leaves, doesn't get back on the flight. And then I read his luggage still went to LA, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst parts of it. I read that the flight took off a couple hours later without him. So that's their side. He was in and out of consciousness, wouldn't put on his seatbelt, and then refused to get off the plane. We called the cops. When the cops showed up, he did get off the plane. Everyone had to deplane. He wasn't arrested or anything, though. Now, let's get to this from my guy, Ian Rappaport. This is Odell's attorney. And again, I just sympathize with the people on this plane. They did nothing wrong. Somebody messed up somehow. I don't know who, but I know it wasn't the people on this plane. Odell's attorney. This is great. This guy just penned this out on a Sunday night. He doesn't want to write this, but he's getting a huge check from Odell. Earlier today, Odell Beckham Jr. boarded a morning flight in Miami without any problems. Okay, good start. The flight was delayed after boarding and prior to takeoff. Mr. Beckham fell asleep with his blanket over his head, which is his normal practice for long flights. All right, so he gets on. Second he sits down, he puts the blanket over his head. A, because maybe it helps him sleep, and B, because he's riding a commercial plane, and when he gets in there, I'm sure he's in first class, he's going to have 300 people walk right past him and be like, oh my God, it's Odell, it's Odell, it's Odell, it's Odell. He's a very, very famous guy. Top 5 famous guy internationally in the NFL, despite not having a team. I was just abroad. They all love Odell. He puts the blanket over his head, probably for the anonymity, which I respect. Okay, so he puts the blanket over his head. He was awakened and told that the plane was back at the gate and that he needed to get off the plane because he didn't put his seatbelt on when asked. Now, that skips a whole chunk of the story. This story goes from gets on, puts a blanket over his head. Next thing he knows, he says, we're back at the gate. You got to get off the plane because you didn't put on your seatbelt. So all this about we tried to wake him up and seatbelts this and seatbelt that, we're taxiing, we have to go back. This attorney skips that entire stage. He sits down, blanket, next thing he knows he's awake and we're back at the gate and you have to get off. That's a huge piece of real estate I think he skipped. But he sticks to his story. He responded now back at the gate when told he has to get off. Odell responded that he was asleep and that he would put his seatbelt on at that time. He was informed that it was too late and that either he would have to get off the plane or everyone would have to deplane. So at that point, you probably want to get the hell off the plane. The flight attendants telling me to get off the plane, I get off. But again, I don't know the circumstances, and I've never been told that before. Maybe I'd be triggered. Who knows? Now, this is where we go on offense. Team Beckham goes on offense. Watch this. The overzealous flight attendant, okay, insisted on removing everyone from the plane instead of simply allowing Mr. Beckham to fasten his seatbelt and proceed with the flight. Got to stop right there. It doesn't work that way. If you're already out on the runway and you have to taxi all the way back because a passenger won't put the seatbelt on for whatever reason, you don't get to then do it at the gate and be like, okay, let's go back out. No, we came all the way back because of this situation. You don't just put it in now and say, my bad. We've had to redirect the air traffic control. We've had to talk to the tower. You're out of here. You can't do it now. It's like your kid saying, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry now. No, you messed up. All right, so going with the statement on, and I'm just going to keep, I love this story so much. I'm fascinated by it. So the overzealous flight attendant said everyone has to get off because you can't just put your seatbelt on and proceed with the flight. Continuing with the statement. And no time was Mr. Beckham disruptive or combative. He was willing to comply with the seatbelt requirement, but the flight attendant wanted to prove that he had the authority to have Mr. Beckham removed from the flight. So this attorney says that the flight attendant was on a power trip and wanted to wield his or her sword or scepter to prove, no, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick this gentleman, or maybe I'm going to kick OBJ off the plane. Statement continues. The airline proceeded to send Mr. Beckham's luggage to Los Angeles without him, which sucks. It's going to be on that stupid carousel, and someone's going to have to grab it. It's going to be that miserable baggage office. That's sneaky the worst part of this. Final paragraph, that incident was unnecessary. Sleeping on a plane should not be a cause for removal from a flight. Stupid sentence. What does that even mean? Of course not. Dumb, should have taken that out. Continuing. If they could wake him up when the flight returned to the gate, then they could have done the same thing to ask him to put on his seatbelt. I'm sure they tried. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure that the flight attendants didn't not try. He's sitting here with the seatbelt off. Sir. We're going to get answers on this. You know, people online want to make jokes that he was all stoned. I doubt it. I don't know. I have no idea. I wouldn't even editorialize on that. That's the number one internet joke that I saw, which I don't know if that's true. I doubt it. And then also just I saw people purportedly were passengers on the plane saying that this was not funny because Odell's tweeting all the stuff, craziest thing I've ever been through. I'm paraphrasing, but I've seen it all now. And he's like doing laughing emojis. And then this guy says, I was on that plane. Nothing funny about being delayed to get home. Just terrible. Can you, of all weekends, Thanksgiving weekend, this couldn't have been just a random Tuesday night in May that he has to fly to no. And then I like the people before the flight details were out, they're like, hey, where was he? Was he in Dallas by any chance? Was he in Green Bay? Was he in New Jersey? They're like, who cares if he was kicked off the plane? What team is he going to? And then the last angle of this is, does this in any way affect his signing with the team? And I would say probably not, because there's nothing criminal apparently that went on. He's not being banned from flying or something. We'll see the washout tomorrow. But it's not like he went into the airport and got arrested. I saw a video of him walking off the plane surrounded by 4 officers. And there's Odell. He's got a hood on. He's got his cool Louis luggage or whatever the hell it is. Looks good. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's Odell. And then he walked off and apparently just left. There's no repercussions for that at all. Maybe because he was having a medical issue and it turned out that, if you have a medical issue, of course, you got to get your help. But it seems like the airline was insinuating insubordination and failure to obey the flight attendant's instructions, which is a big no-no. So this is going to be a story. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Odell's going to have to talk about it. And he's supposed to sign with the team. I don't know what the hell anybody's waiting for. It's almost December. If you're going to sign him, Dallas, New York, Green Bay, who the hell ever, not Green Bay, but sign him. Let's go. Big story this week. Everybody loves Odell stories. I mean, everybody in the media. You may not like him, but I just spent 30 minutes on who lost the day. And again, it's not Odell. It's not even the airline. It is my guys back in row 37, seat B, flying by himself with both armrests taken, no seat back video, no magazine, no charged battery, just sitting there sweating it out, hungover as hell, and just full of 50 billion milligrams of salt from Thanksgiving. You lost the day, friend, but you won my respect. Let's move on to our awards, guys. Roll it. Starting your own small business can be a total roller coaster. Between all the bumpy twists and turns comes the actual business side of your business, which can really throw you for a loop. Luckily, with QuickBooks, you can manage your business with confidence from the start. So no matter how bumpy the ride gets, you can always stay on track. New business? No problem. Success starts with Intuit QuickBooks. Learn more at QuickBooks.com. It's a beautiful theme. It's a beautiful theme. Unfortunately, we're going to go right to some domestic strife between a couple of crazy kids, Karen and Henry Hill. The Karen Hill, why did you do that coaching decision of the day.
Why did you do that? Why? Why did you do that, Karen?
Raise your hand if you have any idea what Todd Bowles was doing at the end of the Buccaneers-Browns game. Anybody raising their hand? I should put mine down. I don't know. They, bizarre hashtag clock management. Doesn't call a timeout at the end of regulation. The Bucs went to overtime against the Browns and ended up losing to Jacoby Brissett and the Browns. They come out, and I was watching on Red Zone, and my guy Scott Hansen was losing his mind. They got a little bit of time, and Brady hits a pass, a big one, right down the middle of the field. And there was no timeout prior to that. Then they called one after that, and all that was left was, and the time before the long pass downfield, they burned 20 or 30 seconds just dilly-dallying around. And Hansen's going, I guess they're just going to sit on the ball and go to overtime. And you thought he was surely right, because the clock ticked down to 13, 14, 12. And Brady hits the long pass, and then they stop the clock at 8 seconds. But then if you were going to throw it downfield, why didn't you call the timeout beforehand? Bucs fans had to be screaming, because then they're left with a Brady Hail Mary, which didn't work, and then that was it. But this one he hit downfield, it would have been a 65-yard field goal or something, which they elected not to go for. It was really strange. And then when the Browns had the ball in the prior possession, Bowles didn't call a timeout either to save himself more time. It didn't make any sense. It was one of these classic, like Andy Reid back in the Eagles, or Mike McCarthy in some of his Packer days, like just when they just trend for having bizarre clock management. Really bad loss for the Bucs, because let's keep this in mind. The optics for the Bucs right now, we haven't seen them in a couple weeks. The last time we saw them, they were beating Seattle in Germany in what really felt like a get-right game. They played well. They got this Rashad White, this rookie running back, looked really good. Then they take 2 weeks off. Brady seems great. And they're going to come tearing down the stretch after the bye week, just like they did a couple years ago when they won the Super Bowl. They're right. They're going to win the division because their record's bad. Remember, the Bucs will have to win the South to get in the playoffs because the South is awful. But they think just run away with it now. All you need to do is just take care of business and kind of eke out a few wins here and there on the way down, on the way to the playoffs, and you're there. They lose to the Browns? It was awful. And now they could blow the whole thing. I mean, the Falcons lost again today. The Panthers won, but the Panthers are the Panthers. And then the Saints lost again today. So it's just no one wants to win that thing. The Bucs are probably still going to win it, but what a disappointing loss. And it felt like Brady was ready to win it at the end. He just wasn't allowed to because his coach didn't call any timeouts. And Brady was asked about it afterwards, and he totally avoided the question and said something about, they made plays and we didn't. Really bizarre. That was a great Karen Hill, why did you do that award winner. It doesn't get much better than that. Take a lap. Our next award is the Take a Lap Award for something stupid, inexplicable, bizarre, or just indescribable. And it's low-hanging fruit here. Everybody's been talking about all day. What was that Sean Taylor tribute that the Commanders did? My sweet, sweet Commanders that I put on the pedestal, the podium again this week, and I've really rooted for, and I say are going to the playoffs. Out comes the curtain, and it's a mannequin from Dick's Sporting Goods. I think it was NFL Memes had that on IG. Sean Taylor, they've been ready for this thing. I think Sean Taylor was killed in 2007, if I have it right. And so now here we are, 2022, and they're going to unveil this tribute, and they pull down this burgundy curtain, and there is a wire mannequin, awkwardly posed, doesn't look anything like Sean Taylor, with the old jersey and the cleats, and everyone just tore this to shreds, and it does look insufficient at best, tasteless at worst, just not good, guys. Everybody lives for the accessories and the details. So he's got Robert Griffin III says Sean Taylor deserved a statue. That's not a statue. It looks like a mannequin at a sporting goods store. And he's wearing Reebok pants, okay, Nike black gloves, which he didn't wear in games. That wasn't his thing. I saw several people point that out. And then they're like, oh, and he has Adidas soccer cleats on. What? Did they leave this to the last minute? It looks like something where it's Sunday night at 8 o'clock and you're a junior in high school and you forgot that you had a book report due on 1984 tomorrow and you hadn't even read the book. And you have to do a book report and make a diorama, and you skim the book, and you try to read it in 20 minutes, and then you look at some stuff online, and you grab a shoebox and cut out some crap and put it in there and show up and be like, here's my 1984 diorama. Sean Taylor's daughter came out and said, no, the soccer shoes are great. He wore soccer shoes in games sometimes. It was something he was really proud of, so that's kind of cool. But the thing about statues is they're statues. They're timeless. They've been making statues for thousands of years because they're just statues. You don't improve upon it. You don't change it. Just make a statue. It works. Why wouldn't you just do that? I saw someone put a side-to-side of Pat Tillman's statue that the Cardinals made, and then this wire Dick's Sporting Goods mannequin. And which one of these is right? It's a terrible thing because it's a massive tragedy from a really beloved player. I love Sean Taylor. Everyone did. And then he just comes out like that. And then is there you can't do a redo, right? You can't say, oh, due to the response, we thought about it again and we're going to churn out a real statue 9 months from. They're not going to do that. That's going to be there. Rough look. Just make a statue. Don't try to do a fresh take on a statue. There's no fresh take on statues. They've been doing the same ones from ancient Rome to Doug Peterson outside of Philadelphia. It's the same deal. Just let it be a statue. There's a reason. Some things are timeless. I feel like Washington was like, we're going to do a fresh take on a classic. You know, this isn't Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds trying to redo a Christmas Carol. This is a statue of a player who was tragically killed in his prime. Just make a statue. Is it that hard? There's a reason people want to say, oh, the Commanders get anything right. Can't get anything right. The football's really good right now, guys. Just come on. Why would you do that? You know how many people had to probably sign off on that before they pulled down that curtain? Yeah, it looks great. People are going to love it. Was no one like, guys, it's a stupid mannequin. The equipment is all weird. And the other thing that Chantel used to take all this tape and put it on his face mask, like really detailed taping of his face mask, which serves no functional purpose, but just looked cool, and maybe it was a ritual for him. Put the tape on the face mask. You didn't even do that. That would have taken somebody an hour this morning. Just put the tape on the face mask. That was his thing. It was signature. Like if you were to do Dion, you would incorporate the bandana thing. Like that was kind of his thing. Put the tape on the face mask, guys. And put it on the statue. Why do I have to tell you this? Take a lap. Just take. Your football team's really good, right? I love them. Take a lap. Moving on. The next piece of hardware. Oh, I like this one. The River Craycraft fantasy thief of the day. River Craycraft got to thieving early in the season. Kept scoring touchdowns when we all had Tyreek and Waddle and people like that in our fantasy squads. River Craycraft is a Dolphins tight end, one of like 30 that they have. And I like River Craycraft, but he gets his own award named after him. Didn't win it today, though. No, why? Because you know who won the River Craycraft fantasy thief of the day? Naturally. Buccaneers tight end Ko-Kieft. Ko-Kieft. First name Ko, K-O. Last name Kieft, K-I-E-F-T. Do you know Ko-Kieft? You should. He is the 96th player to catch a touchdown pass to Tom Brady. Number 96. Number 1 was the late Terry Glenn in 2001. Number 96, I'm going to say his name again. Ko-Kieft. He's a rookie. He was drafted out of the Minnesota program in the 6th round by the Bucs, a Golden Gopher. Blocking tight end. Former high school wrestler. His tight ends coach at Minnesota says Ko-Kieft loves the violent part of football. And they sold T-shirts at Minnesota, and you better believe we have a picture of this T-shirt. That is the Ko-Kieft's House of Pancakes shirt with a hot steaming stack with extra butter and syrup, and that was Kief's House of Pancakes. So he's one of these, like, I don't know, it reminds me a lot of like a Jim Kleinsasser back with the Vikings. He caught a touchdown pass today for a fantasy team world in which you had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rachaad White. You were so sorry. Ko-Kieft. While at Minnesota, players were required to sit in the first 2 rows and wear collared shirts to classes, okay? Ko-Kieft started a trend where the players wore plaid flannel shirts with the sleeves cut off. He also had a rat tail in his final game in Minnesota because, of course, he did, and he cut it off. There it is. And like a side rat tail, like it was askew, and he braided it, and it's gross looking, but I respect it. And apparently he cut it off at the end of the game, at the end of his career, and he handed it to his coach as a thank you. Here is this rat tail. Ko-Kieft not invited to the combine, not ranked on experts draft boards. He got the call, I guess, from Jason Light, the Bucs GM, that he was drafted. He was drinking beers in his garage, and you won't believe this. Apparently, he also has a meat locker in his garage. Ko-Kieft, touchdown today in the fantasy world. Sorry, none for Jamar Chase. He wasn't out there. None for Cooper Kupp. He wasn't out there. These guys you drafted in the 1st and 2nd round, nope. Ko-Kieft got one, though. Did you start him? No. Ko-Kieft, I'm glad you won this one. Let's move on, though, to the R.I.P. my dog, Tony Stark player tweet of the day. That's the legendary spoiler tweet from my guy, LaShawn McCoy, who saw Avengers before everybody else and tweeted that Tony Stark died. It's pretty big deal. And every week since the season started, we give out a favorite player tweet of the day, that award. Today goes to Ashton Davis of the New York Jets, who made it nice and simple and sweet. Bleep that coin, Jets win. He writes F asterisk asterisk asterisk. Bleep that coin, Jets win. Have you seen that story where the dude before the season flipped a coin to decide every Jets win and loss, and he's been right every single week? It's been this bizarre, miraculous thing people like to do. Nooner Nation just did a coin flip to predict the Jets season, and this is what happened. So this is back in the day, and he just keeps getting them right. Week 1, loss. Week 1, win, loss, win, 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 win. He was getting every week right. Not this week. That stupid coin of his It got the Baltimore loss in week 1, the Cleveland win, the Cincinnati loss in week 3, and then wins in a row against Pittsburgh, Miami, Green Bay, Denver. All of them right. And it became this miraculous thing. Could it go all the way? Because he has them losing in the AFC Championship and then finishing 11-6. And yet, my friends, the record scratched today in week 12 versus the Chicago Bears because his coin flip said loss to the Bears, and they won, and they beat the crap out of them. The Trevor Siemian-led Bears. So, Ashton Davis, absolutely perfect. Bleep that coin, Jets win. It's over, it's done, not interesting. That is the RIP my dog, Tony Stark, player tweet of the day. This one's great. We always do the line of the week, and we usually pull it from an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You might remember the 1990s film Eraser, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Vanessa Williams, and James Caan as the heavy. And there's one scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger is fighting some henchmen in a gun battle with Vanessa Williams, and they're at a zoo. And at one point, an alligator tank gets shot by a stray bullet. And what bank is that one in? 2? Hold on, I'm looking for the... oh yeah, there it is. Okay. So one of the alligator tanks gets shot by a stray bullet, and an alligator comes out. And it's this really bad CGI alligator, and it's 25 years old CGI. And it's eating the henchmen, and it's like... It weighs 5,000 pounds. It's like Godzilla. And it's about to eat Arnold and Vanessa. And if you're Arnold, and it's the 90s, and you're still clinging on, you're about to fall off a cliff, but you're still Arnold, and you got a gun, and the alligator's gonna come in. It's a giant, leathery, beautiful alligator, and just before you shoot the alligator in the head, you need a little piece of prose, little one-liner to say to the alligator, something that doesn't speak English. What would you say to it right before you kill the alligator? Of course, you'd say this.
Your luggage.
Yeah! Your luggage, you dead alligator, because I just shot you in the head. Now I'm going to skin you and make some bags out of you, like the ones that Odell had shipped to LA from Miami, even though he wasn't on the flight. That's the point we reached with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was talking bleep to animals that he had just killed. So, the your luggage line of the week.
Your luggage.
Goes to Robert Saleh, who I'm sure appreciates the talents of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's built like him. And Robert Saleh talking about his quarterback one, Mike White.
He didn't need to be anybody but Mike White. We didn't need to turn into the greatest show on turf. We just wanted him to play within himself and play efficient. I thought he did that. He made the easy look easy, and that's. I thought he did a really good job with that.
Made the easy look easy. He did. I think that's a good way of putting it. Watching Mike White play today, it did look easy. Now, again, the Bears defense really bad. The Bears traded their best player, Roquan Smith. They traded their best pass rusher, Robert Quinn. They got many people. Eddie Jackson left the game today. It's sort of their best safety. They don't have much. It should have looked pretty easy. You're playing at home, but it rained. He hasn't started a game in a long time. And it wasn't easy. I don't care who they played against. I said that earlier in the show. I'm going to stand by it. It wasn't easy. You know what is easy? Killing an alligator and saying this.
Your luggage.
It's just awesome. This is when old me says, man, they don't make movies like they used to. Great job to Mike White, Robert Saleh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, RIP to the alligator. This is normally when we do the Steve Latimer place at the table team.
Starting defense. Place at the table.
I can't get there, though. I can't get there today because the Commanders already were at the table. The Jets already were at the table, too. The Jets got at the table when they beat the Bills. The Commanders got at the table like a couple wins ago. They're already there. And then, who would qualify for, oh, man, you showed up today and put on your big boy pants. Maybe you are someone to be reckoned with. Who would that be? I'm not ready to do it for the Raiders. I guess I could give it to the Chargers. The Chargers were 500, and the Chargers are the Chargers. I'm not giving it to the Panthers. They won with Sam Darnold. I'm happy for them, but, they're not at the table. Can we put the Chargers at the table? Do you feel like you're excited about the Chargers? The team at the table is okay, I'm pretty sure you're going to the playoffs, and, I actually think there's a really good chance you might be able to win a playoff game. You there with the Chargers? The Justin Herbert thing it's very easy to root for. He's so fun to watch. He's such an incredible specimen, 6'6", tallest quarterback in the league. Just that massive arm. His aesthetics are great. The uniforms are beautiful. The hair out the back works. His equipment just looks right. His arms are kind of muscular. I like watching him. And he seems like a good guy. You know, he never has anything bad to say. He doesn't talk that much, but I don't care. I don't need him to. I like to root for Herbert. And I like Staley, too, by the way. I like Brandon Staley. I know a lot of people want to shove him in a locker or something, but I like him. I've gotten to interview him a few times. He's awesome. Great presence. So I want the Chargers to be a thing. Can we put the Chargers at the table? Let's remember next week. Let's remember that we're going to put the Chargers at the table. Chargers, you got a place at the table.
Starting defense, place at the table.
But let's remember next week, if they disappoint us, if they disgrace themselves, we're taking them off the table. Just remind me. Oh, man, not for this. This is never a fun one. Let's go, I'm going to go through my elaborate soundbite here to the Catherine Martin in James Gumm's basement lotion on its skin team.
It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
The Saints. Miserable team. Shut out. Shut out today. You know the last time they were shut out? 2001. 2001. Pre-Drew Brees. They were shut out today. And you can't get shut out in the NFL. Like, you got to get a field goal up there. The kickers are really good now. You got Will Lutz. You played the game in a dome. You can't ever have a situation where you put up 0 points. Bad games happen. I totally understand it. But you should never have 0. And also, why is Andy Dalton still starting? What did Jameis Winston do to Check's Notes venerable head coach Dennis Allen to make him just forever abandon him? They have lost 5 of their last 7 games. They lost 13-0 to the Niners. They lost to the Steelers 2 weeks before that. I don't want to spend too much time on this because they're so irrelevant, but 4-8. And they got Cam Jordan back today. They got a few other guys back, and they didn't score a single point. They held the Niners to 13, so the defense was fine. But, like, don't you think Dennis Allen should bench Andy Dalton now? Like, Jameis is... I've spoken a lot about Jameis over the years. He's nothing great. He's a wild man, and he's going to be all over the map. But at least he's up sometimes. Why would you... If you're going to go down, why would you go down dying on the Andy Dalton hill? They play the Bucs next week. And you know what they do? That Saints defense against Brady has been well documented. They do really well. They play the Bucs next week on Monday Night Football. Is Andy Dalton like, don't you want Jameis playing against his old team? Let's go! Jameis, get out there. Dennis Allen, let's wake up. Put Jameis in. I don't know, what's the problem there? All right, that's it. That's all our awards. That was really fun. I'm sorry to give that to the Saints, but you deserve it. You can't get shut out. Let's look forward to tomorrow's takes tonight in what we call the Monday Take Buffet. Go ahead. All right, I messed up in the show. I should have brought this up earlier. I should have started the show with it. It should have had all 3 places on the podium. We got to talk about Brian Robinson's hat. Brian Robinson, the rookie Washington Commanders running back. Oh my God, there it is. Oh yeah. Have you seen his hat? It is like a Costco-sized, unbelievably incredible baseball cap. It's with the NFL logo and the Commanders deal. And he says his friend has a large hat company, whatever that is. And this thing is massive. Everyone's obsessed with it, including me. I really want it. I think it's so funny. It reminds me of when Pharrell Williams wore that hat that looked like the Arby's logo or whatever, and everyone just lost their mind. I love it, too, that he's putting it out there like he's just wearing it like a normal hat. If you wear that hat around, you'd be like, hey, look at me. Like, I got a Viking helmet on, or a beer can helmet, or Norm Macdonald playing Burt Reynolds on Celebrity Jeopardy with the oversized cowboy hat. You have to have like a sense of awareness that the hat you're wearing is preposterous. He's like, yeah, whatever, this is my hat. It's a big hat. I like it. Yeah, he's like, I can't believe that he's wearing that and he has such a serious facial expression. But I really do want that hat. Some people tried to send me some links to it. It didn't look like the links looked like the links were spam. I want that though. It can be a Commander's hat. I love it. I'll wear it right here in the basement. I promise. I want the hat. That's going to be everywhere. A lot of Jets takes. Oh, Noggin Boss, okay, is the name of the company. Apparently it was on Shark Tank. But now, all right, so my question is, I went to the Noggin Boss website because somebody sent it to me, but it didn't have any NFL registered hats. And this one clearly is a trademarked NFL hat. It has the shield on it. It's Commanders thing. So I got to go to Noggin Boss, I get. But when I went, there was no Commanders hat. I looked. Let me know. A lot of Jets takes tomorrow. Monday Take Buffet. A lot of Mike White. I kind of got hot takey earlier. Zach Wilson played his last game for the New York Jets. How far can they go with Mike White? I'm seriously holding the reins on Mike White, though, and by holding, I mean pulling. I don't think the Jets are going to go on some crazy offensive tear for the next 2 months. Limited guy. We'll see. We'll just see. I like the Jets defense, and I like Saleh. I don't think now they're going to go to the title game because Mike White is a quarterback. I think he's going to have some problems. The Ravens had a bad loss today. Ravens won't make the playoffs. That could be out there. I don't have that. Tua is the clear MVP favorite. Mahomes wasn't great today. Mahomes threw a really bad interception in the end zone, and that doesn't take him out of the race, but I wouldn't say today was a huge stride forward. They struggled. They won. He hit Kelsey for a big one. Tua is really good. I mean, they sat Tua down like early, like after the third quarter. You don't see a lot in NFL games. They're up 30-0 on Houston at the half. Houston is barely a team. Lovie Smith is, I don't know if he's a real person at this point. I respect him as a man, but like, is he really there or is it a robot on the sideline? The NFC South again. Can anybody go and get the Bucs? I just don't see it. It's not. Don't get me started on Sam Darnold with Carolina going to go win the South. We've been waiting for the Falcons for 3 months. They lost again today. The Saints, you know where I stand on. I still think it's the Bucs just by default. Commanders are going to go to the title game. Make the playoffs is not a strong enough take. I've said that for weeks. Bengals, best team in the AFC. Best team in the AFC. Is that possible? You want to go Kansas City? Remember how that went last year at Arrowhead. They took them out. Chase coming back. Mixon coming back. Bengals very sneaky. 24 hours ago, I would have said the Ravens are the sneakiest team in the AFC, and they had a bad loss today. The Seahawks run is over. Here, my take on the Seahawks is I'm worried that they're the Pacific Northwest Giants in the sense that great first half of the season story, unlikely, unforeseen success by a character who's been put down a lot at quarterback, and overachieved, and now the air's kind of coming out of the balloon. New York Giants, I'm worried about that. Seahawks, I'm worried about that. They still run the ball well, and they played some good D today, but they lost to the Raiders. The Raiders suck. They're bad. So worried that the Seahawks run is over. Worried that the Giants run is over. We're here, guys. It's going to be, next time we play an NFL game after tomorrow night, it's going to be December. The real football starts after Thanksgiving. Quote from the late, great John Madden, who was honored this weekend. Real football is played over Thanksgiving. We will be covering it all here in the basement, as we always do. If you have any information on the Odell plane thing, if you have any information on how I can get Brian Robinson's hat, we're here for you. We'll be here all week. Josh Allen looking like a Tuesday again this week. Again, he plays on Thursday. Our guy, short week again. So we're playing catch up, but we'll have a whole recap show on Monday. We're here. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do whatever it is you feel comfortable doing. I never beg for that stuff, but it probably does help the business. So do it. Love you. Thank you. That's all from the basement. I'm going to go watch the Sunday night game. See you guys.